Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Well, in this video I'm going to talk a bit about extended ISO. And mirrorless cameras and DSLs before them have a standard range of ISOs, and I think this is universal. I think there might be some exceptions, but they all have a standard range of ISOs, and then they have what's called extended ISO. And so today I'm going to focus primarily on the low extended ISO. So if you look at the Lumix G9 Mark II and other more recent Mark IV Lumix cameras, 100 ISO is the base standard ISO. Older Mark IV cameras and the OMD cameras, the base ISO is actually 200. And I've always been under the impression that you want to avoid the extended ISOs on the low end because they can hurt your dynamic range. And there's a good reason to think they might, because when you go to those settings, you're not actually decreasing the sensitivity of the sensor. What it does is it overexposes. So it shifts your exposure priority down towards the shadows and brightens those up. Now the problem, of course, with that is you have the risk of blowing your highlights out. So that's why I've thought, well, you know, you kind of avoid those. However, I recently found this Reddit thread, and it was about the G9 Mark II. And there was a poster who said, I've been using the 50 ISO, and I can't see that it really matters. And then somebody else posted and said, well, if you look at photons to photos, and I actually did, I'll link to those charts in the description, but if you look at photons to photos, the G9 Mark II sensor actually has its highest dynamic range at 50 ISO. So that's kind of interesting. And then I also looked at the sensor data for the S5 Mark II. The S5 Mark II, actually, it dips a little bit down to 50 ISO, but that sensor has so much dynamic range anyway, you probably wouldn't notice. GX9, so I'm talking about the cameras that I own. The GX9, you know, 200 ISO is the base, but it does have a little bit better ISO at 50. So this is interesting. I don't know, maybe Panasonic figured out a way to do it where you don't lose dynamic range. So what I did was I went out, and it was a crappy day. So I took a couple of stills, one at 50, one at 100, and I'll put these up here, and then I also took some video. And the problem with video is it doesn't save that information into the EXIF, but watch this and see if you can tell a difference. So I find that very, very interesting, that you don't have a dynamic range penalty by going into that extended ISO area at the low end. So maybe you've tried this, and maybe you found something that's an issue, and if you have, hey, pop a comment down below. That'd probably be really useful for people to know. My feeling about it is if I'm out on a bright day, especially if I'm shooting video and then I'm shooting photos, it might help mitigate the need for neutral density filters, which is a problem when I'm switching back and forth, because usually at video you're using a slower shutter speed, and you switch to photography, you may want to use a higher shutter speed. Then you got a neutral density filter on the front of the lens, and it means your ISO has to go up. So that's my primary interest in this. Anyway, well, I'll leave you with that. And if it's useful information, hey, hit that like button. Right now, here in the Midwestern United States, we're heading into, prime spring wildflower season. So we got all the little spring ephemeral wildflowers popping up. And I've been out shooting, and I put it's a short slideshow together for the end of this video. I actually tell you what camera and lens was used, but I'll leave you with that. I'm Todd Banner. I will see you in the next video.